for you to choose.
And if you all, some people are afraid to come up alone, so if they need to come up as a group, they can do that, and each one speak too.
Okay.
Love to. Yeah, because I know how nerve-wracking that can be, especially if we're on TV and, yeah.
Okay. How about that list?
I already talked to them.
I walked by and I saw a bunch of people
Yeah,
crossed
no, they are crossed out because they're all going to speak on this. And I brought up your things. Thank you for sending this. Yeah, it's perfect.
I saw the text.
Yeah.
I know what that meant.
Well, yeah, but sometimes people don't,
Yeah.
so yeah, I appreciate your doing that.
There you go.
Like you got us into big trouble tonight. Ooh. We're always ready.
This meeting will be conducted in person in the Sanford City Council chambers and via remote video and teleconference pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 403B2D and Section 6 of the Sanford City Council Rules of Procedure. Members of the public may join the meeting in person or remotely using the information posted on the meeting calendar on the city's website. Members of the public may also submit comments via the website under government/city council/contact the council. And would you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to remind the audience that you need to remain silent as we're going through the different things, please. The next thing is going to be a moment of silence, and one of the things I think we need to be thinking about during this moment of silence is that we are starting a new school year, and there are many issues that have already hit the news. One being shootings that have taken place and children have died, and I think we need to think about all of our children across America. The other thing is people who drive by buses who are letting kids on or off. Children have been hit and killed across our nation because people are not willing to follow the law. So if you could spread the word that when that bus is pulled over and those lights are going, you stop for that bus. I don't want to hear that anything happened within our community, because we are a loving community and we care for our kids. So during our moment of silence, if you could be concentrating on that, I would appreciate it. Thank you. So, moment of silence. And now for the roll call. Deputy Mayor Herlihy? Councilor Martell?
Present.
Councilor Hitchcock?
Present.
Councilor Trenchmontaine?
Present.
Council Hanselman?
Present.
Council Stackpole?
Present.
And I am Mayor Brink. And also present with us are Manager Steve Buck and Executive Administrator Larissa Ricketts. And let's move on to our minutes. And I was not here during the last meeting. I was actually on vacation. It was lovely. We have a place on Lake Winnipesaukee, and we truly enjoyed it. It was wonderful. So fortunately, I'm very lucky that we do not have the ability to Zoom into any of these meetings. So I truly got to have the week off. So it was wonderful. So I'd like to have an order to approve the minutes from the regular council meeting held on August 19th, 2025. May I have a motion?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Second, Pete?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you, and one abstained. And the next is an order to approve the minutes from the executive session of the City Council held on August 19th, 2025. Can I have a motion, please? Nate?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
And may I have a second? Jonathan?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. And I was not thinking of you on vacation. I'm sorry. It was just...
Well, we weren't really thinking of you either. Just
All right. Now for the mayor's report. And for those of you who, if you've ever watched these meetings, you realize I'm not your typical mayor. I am not a politician. I don't get everything right. The only reason I am mayor is because somebody harassed me enough, Anne Marie Mastracchio, to run for this office. And I've always served my community. I've probably been on more than 50 subcommittees within Sanford over the years. And I just really love Sanford, and so when I was asked to serve in this position, I said yes. But if you'll find out, I like to joke around. I like to enjoy people. So you'll see this meeting is probably not run how you think a meeting should be run. Now, typically a mayor's report is done on some happenings in the community and stuff. So this is probably the first time you're going to hear a mayor's report done on a response to an email. So I'm going to read you what I wrote in response to an email that I received. And one of the reasons I am doing this is that I realized the person who wrote this email is a very knowledgeable person about our community. And I thought, if this person doesn't know all that's been happening in our community, I bet most people don't know everything that's been happening in our community. And I thought, when I saw you wanted to be speaking to our community, I thought, I'm going to have a lot of live bodies there to hear about this, and they could share this with their neighbors so that you all know what's going on and what we've been doing. So here I'm going to read you my letter back. Good morning, John. Your stated purpose in your email was to share your frustration that our elected governing bodies do not prioritize the areas like Heritage Lane, and has been occurring over 5 years. Let me address the last 5 years, as you might have forgotten all that we have done. So I'm addressing his first statement. First, the land you mentioned did not belong to the city, and we continually tried to contact the owner to ask permission to enter his land in order to do something about the encampment that was there. We were unable to get permission. The city cannot violate the law. We are never allowed to enter private property without being asked unless we have a warrant. Having the homeless set up tents on private property is not enough reason for a warrant. Next, we had donations which enabled us to have trash collected by a private company on this site. The homeless group has been fantastic about collecting their trash and getting it ready for collection. The problem came from our citizens who didn't want to pay for their own city trash bags and place their trash in this area. You could have seen those bags by driving by. Most of those were near the sidewalk. These same citizens dumped their needles and used furniture, refrigerator, stoves, and microwaves in the encamped area. I don't know of too many homeless people who own a microwave or have the ability to plug it in anywhere. After working for over a year, the city was able to take ownership of the land on Heritage Lane. Our next steps were to clean the area as we had major concerns about the health and welfare of the people living in the encampment. This was also a long process, as we had to offer housing to the people in the encampment because by law, we are not able to move them unless they refuse housing. We had a team working with this group in the encampment to find housing. In fact, we had a whole committee centered around this, and Diane Small and Eric Small were part of this, and Chief at the time, Craig Anderson, and Steve was a part of this, I was a part of this, and Ann was a part of this whole committee. Because of all our efforts, the number of the homeless in our community dropped from over 200 to under 50, all done in a humane manner. Your other concern was the amount of crime increasing. I checked with the police weekly. Most of the crime does not come from people in the encampments, but others in the area. More crime has been done to the people in the encampment, not the other way around. Your next concern, you stated, this is also happening in many other parts of the city as well. It is unclear to me why there is not a concerted effort to rectify this situation. My question to him was, how do you know that we haven't been dealing with this situation? The police go down multiple times during the day and evenings to clear the area and make arrests, only to have the population back on the streets within hours. Again, we can only follow the laws of our state. Your next statement is, the perception is that the Public Works and the Rec Department will not pick up trash and debris on the city property and sidewalks. There is currently trash and debris in the parking lot and sidewalks that have been there for weeks. There are large piles of, and then he goes on, there are large piles of bricks from the tower that were supposed to be used and as fill. They have been left unattended for 2 years. This is by the boiler room. You might have seen all those bricks that are down there in back. Now pay attention to this. Let me address the first part. If you look at the area last week, the trash was picked up only to have several people drop their house trash in this area. And that's the parking lot down on Heritage. It was all picked up, and it was not homeless trash that was there. We placed cement barriers to prevent cars from entering and making it more difficult for them to drop off their trash. It is an endless task, and that the city continually addresses this. The second part of your statement talked about the pile of bricks. During multiple city council meetings, we have discussed and obtained a grant to take down the boiler building. In order to proceed, the city hired an engineer to develop a plan to support the road behind the building, as the road would collapse if we just took down that building. As a cost savings, all the bricks will be removed at that time. So we're not going to pick them up now and have extra cost. We're going to wait. This council is trying to be very wise on how we spend your tax dollars. Next, you stated, the police department has been instructed not to address clear violations of state and the city's law, including sleeping on the sidewalks and camping on the city property, trespassing, public intoxication, disorderly conduct, littering. My response, I have no idea where you get your information, but this is all wrong. We have developed ordinances to help our police address many of these issues, including one to limit the needle exchange program, which helped clean up our streets of needles. I don't know if you, the public, have noticed, but we have nowhere near the amount of needles we used to have, and our parks are mostly clean. And in fact, Ann, I, and Pete took a tour of several of our parks, and during that time, we found a total of 3 needles by our going down there with trash bags willing to pick up stuff. We didn't find what used to be there. Over the last several years, I've been a part of the Homeless Task Force Committee. We initially met weekly for several years and put 19 strategies in place to address the encampment humanely and effectively. This team allowed our community to drop from over 200 to under 50 homeless people on our streets. The group that remains are not homeless, as they have been offered help and are continually offered help by our police department and social workers. Most of the group are very addicted to drugs and are unable to make the decision to accept the help offered. Our team is still meeting to come up with solutions for this group of people. So you understand, if you are so addicted to drugs, you cannot make a good decision for yourself. And that's basically what you're seeing out there now. These people are really hurting, and they can't do that next step. As you can see, there is not a simple answer to your concerns. As the city, we work on this every week. We welcome your input and participation to alleviate this complex problem. And I thanked him for his email. Becky Brink, Mayor. So, moving ahead, we have no subcommittee reports. And so, Steve, I'm going to move on to your reports.
All right, thank you. Well, I don't know if it's good, bad, or otherwise, but I'm going to stay on pretty much the same theme with the first thing I'm going to present tonight. So it's titled Homeless Response by the Police Department. I requested just this past week from Deputy Chief Gagne to provide the most recent statistics for calls around homeless. And in my report, I put homeless in quotation marks, right? And you find out the reason for the quotations around homeless. He ran a query from June 1st through August 28th, so that's our summer months, a span of 88 days. There were 359 calls for homeless, 204 for trespassing, 47 for needles and or drug paraphernalia, and 78 for drug incidents, people called in open space, obviously using. He also indicated that you could not specifically query overdose calls, as it's coded by several different medical calls, and many times when the calls come in for a service, it's not even known that it's an overdose at that point in time. So those calls couldn't be added in. Just of the ones that I listed, that's 688 calls, or 8 calls per day, and these predominantly come in the daytime shift. So it's about a call every hour that comes in as quote-unquote homeless. So as our city continues to respond to the, quote, homeless calls, related calls for service, we need to recognize that these responses are predominantly substance use disorder and or mental health related, and they are the leading cause for the calls for service, not homelessness. There's a large number of responses that are not due to individuals being unhoused. This is a symptom, but are related to their substance abuse. We will separate out people who are at risk for becoming unhoused due to their economic status and other catastrophic impacts from those who are unhoused due to their substance abuse disorder or mental health. For the latter category, it is not a lack of housing that has caused them to remain unhoused. It is their inability to be housed due to their addiction not being treated. The inability to mandate treatment or care or use of resources within a population that due to their addiction become unable to self-direct their own care, that is what needs to be addressed. As a society, as a matter of law enforcement and humane treatment of individuals, the erosion of enforcement, directed care, and the loss of institutional services is playing out within our community. Why this recidivism continues within a small portion of our population and why it cannot be addressed is a major topic that we'll touch upon here later tonight under presentations when Officer Rant comes in to talk to you about what he's seen this summer in dealing with this population while he's been out on the streets doing the bike patrol. On a positive note, Grammar Road, that's been a topic of much concern of its present condition. Public Works Director Matthew Hill has continued to work with the Maine Department of Transportation, seeking what's called a municipal partnership agreement for the renovation of Grammar Road. The work has been successful as the city has received notice that it will be awarded an MPI for up to $1,050,000 for the city's, pursuant to our evaluation, towards a $1.9 million project for Grammar Road, and that award will come to us in 2026. So our director is working feverishly to get the engineering and design work in place. They're out doing coring in the road for depths to ledge and other material analysis. So if all goes well, we'll have a new Grammar Road come to us in 2026. My next element is municipal solid waste. As the city voted to become a member of EcoMaine for the long-term disposal of our solid waste and recyclables, we now have 2 seats on the EcoMaine Board of Directors. At a recent board orientation, so it's myself and Director Matt Hill, our Public Works Director, we learned of opportunities for future cost savings due to being an owner community. Favorable performance will be reflected in the future year rate settings for the owners. So this October, they'll set the rates for the next fiscal year. And they had a very good year last year, and they're going to pass that good year on as savings to the owner communities. The new recycling and the implementation of the extended producer responsibility for packaging, providing for a 75% cost of recovery for recycling, will also produce options for our pending curbside collection and hauling contracts. It is evident that having an active and ownership role in our solid waste and recycling programming, that our city will be able to conserve resources and effectively lower our future cost of services. The next element I'd like to speak on briefly is the flock camera system. At the last council meeting, a resident raised concerns around a future pilot installation of license plate reading cameras, LPRs, in our city. The company that is to provide the technology is named Flock. It was wrongfully reported that the local paper, that there would be a public hearing this Tuesday, September 9th at 11 a.m. It's actually a public meeting. It's the public safety meeting, and they have since printed correction on that. But at that Public Safety Committee meeting, we will be having the regular meeting, and the police department will present further information on the LPR cameras by Flock. In that presentation will be the police department's standard operating procedure, SOP number 068. It's unfortunate that that didn't come forward in the first presentation, but that's coming forward now. That SOP governs who and how the information can be accessed, protection of any information in the limited storage, i.e. short-term, under 21 days, and how that information can be handled. The SOP was put in place under the Maine Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, MLEAP, that our department is now certified under, and directly mirrors the state law, Title 29A, Section 2117-A, the use of automated license plate recognition systems. The SOP and the state law further protects individuals' privacy under the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution and governs the use of the technology. So the Public Safety Committee will be held by Zoom. It is a public meeting, not a public hearing, and any input from the public may be limited and only granted by the chair if so warranted. The last item I have is the Veterans Affairs Services. As authorized by the City Council, a revocable license agreement with the Veterans Affairs has been signed to allow the city to sublet 2,500 square feet at no cost to the Veterans Affairs for Services at the Anderson Learning Center for 9 months, starting September 1st through May 30th of 2026. The Veterans Affairs Director has countersigned, and they have reviewed the office space, and that space, and that the review has been completed. The Veteran Services, they're in the process of moving into the temporary space, allowing them to discontinue the use of the 2 portable office vans that they're currently operating out of. The city will stay informed of any future requests for proposals of temporary or permanent leasing options for the Veterans Affairs, as this arrangement is a temporary accommodation by the city for the continuation of veteran services. So she gave me the indication that there would be a future proposal coming forward. The city may find that to be viable to bid on or not. So, thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you to Matt Hill for working very hard on the Grammar Road project. That's coming in almost 2 years early. So the Williams family up there, we all like chocolates, so that would be appropriate, just in case you're wondering. Let's see,
Sugar-free for me.
sugar-free for you, okay. Or maybe that's considered a bribe. Okay, hence my first statement, I am not a politician, so keep that in mind. All right, on to the communications and presentations. I would like a motion to table the first one, which is the president on Oakdale Cemetery. And the reason is Joe can't come tonight. He's going to come at the next meeting to present. So could I have a table, please? Pete?
I'll table this.
Jonathan?
I will second the motion to table.
Okay, and do we vote on that? A table? Okay,
you do.
all those in favor? All right. Next, an update on the Sanford Police Department's bike patrol. And first of all, you would never get me riding a bike all around town. I just wouldn't have the energy. So kudos for those people who can do it.
Said ride bike and Nate's taking off. Look at that.
Please introduce yourself and your roles.
Yes, hello. My name is Eric Small. I'm the police chief. To my right here, I have David Rant. He's our mental health officer and our bike patrol officer for the summertime. Early in the spring, we identified issues in our downtown area, mostly through complaints that I received via email or in person, or just through community contacts about trespassing, theft, all the crimes you can think of, the small stuff, but that cause big problems to our business owners in the Main Street Marketplace, in Central Park, and in the surrounding area. So to combat that, what I believe is just police presence will help eliminate a lot of the problems that we had. So we fired up the bike patrol again, and Officer Rant and one other officer participated in that for most of the summer. And I think this week is Dave's last week doing it, and he'll move back to probably one more week. Okay, he's going to move back after that to back to the mental health unit. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to Dave, and he can answer any questions you might have about what he did this summer. That's a movie, I think. I know what you did last summer.
Is this like going back to school and the first school day, the teachers say, well, tell us what you did during the summer?
Something similar. It's been a long time since I've had to do that. So my goal this summer, I did the bike patrol last summer as well. We were a little more spread out last summer. We had more of us, so we were able to kind of spread out. This summer was more try to be focused downtown and just kind of general be, like the chief said, presence. As if you're present, people usually don't do dumb stuff when you're present. So that was kind of the goal. And then just to identify different areas. And it was really the community contacts, the small one-to-one interactions that I've had with community members, business owners, even a lot of the unhoused population. So when it comes down to like, hey, I did the whole like step justice, right? Like at the start, hey, we can't be doing these things. It's not good. Then, hey, you continue to not listen to me. Now we're going to add a little bit of punishment. And then, hey, now you're trespassing from this, like those types of things. That contact, when inevitably, sometimes it came down to the, hey, now I have to take some sort of legal action or some sort of action. That built a lot of trust within that person, like, yeah, I was dumb. Because like the mayor said, they're not in a headspace to make good decisions for themselves a lot of times. So that was kind of my goal this summer. I guess, what are your guys' questions?
Okay. Are there any questions of the bike patrol, like how did they live and survive riding all over the city? But I won't ask that. So go ahead. Any questions? Pete?
Do you feel that it made a difference using the bikes?
Oh, absolutely. So there was several times, even not only when a call would come in, I would be just right there in that area to address the issue, or had it a couple times as a call was coming in, I'm like, yep, I'm out with that person right now. Like, saw it in the moment. Not only just different complaints to homeless or the paraphernalia or the trespassing or those types of things. But there's things like active police calls, like a domestic violence situation that me and the other officer were really close to, were able to help and respond to, as well as other different calls. So in the downtown area, yes, it definitely helps. It's pretty quick.
Thank you.
Ant?
I think it's a really great initiative, so thank you for doing it here in our community. I did see you out, as somebody who's in the downtown a lot, I saw you out frequently, and I appreciate that presence of our police department. My question is, I'm looking for a third person to do a triathlon with. Are you interested in the biking portion?
No.
What's the other thing you want committees for? Is lip sync?
Lip syncing would be the other option if you don't want to do the triathlon.
Maybe my wife might be involved in that.
Okay.
Not me.
Any other, Jonathan?
More just a comment, but no, thank you for doing that, and I think it's a good initiative to show some presence. You know, I have seen you guys biking around, you know, especially around the park over here and, you know, in the middle of town. So I think it is good to have the visibility, so appreciate that. Thank you.
Dave, could you speak to some of the challenges you saw with the laws?
Yeah, so some of the biggest things that, you know, the laws that we struggle with, right? Like the mayor said, there's only certain things that you can do. We're not above the law. If you be quite blunt here, if you see somebody shooting up, got a needle in their hand, it's in their arm. I can stop it. I can legally identify that person, figure out if they're on some sort of conditions that maybe I now have some articulable suspicion that there's likely drugs in that, but to get what's in that vial is a very hard thing to do, and the DAs in the state will not prosecute unless they know what's in that vial. It could just be remnants of some blood. It might be drugs. It might be saline. We don't know. We suspect, but we can't prove. So it's that burden of proof piece. There's not a lot we can do in those types of situations, in that public place and whatnot, if they didn't have some sort of conditions that allowed me to act in a different way to get there. Because, okay, could I seize that person's backpack and write a warrant for that to get a search of maybe some very small usable amount of drugs that likely won't get prosecuted anyway, and then put in a bunch of overtime to write that warrant? Well, that doesn't make any fiscal sense. So, no. But I can trespass that person and then use that as a stepping stone if they're doing it again, and then get them out of the area. And it shows the other people like, hey, you can't do this in public. They're not going to stand for it. So a lot of the laws that we are allowed to work within, the paraphernalia laws, the main state, you know, people can have as many needles as they want. It sounds bad, but it's a fact. It's not against the law. Those types of things are a lot of the struggle that we have. And then with the, I don't know if anybody read Major Dyer's Facebook post, but it hit the nail on the head. There is a DA's homeless protocol type things. There's certain crimes that we may be acting, and you see us not arrest that person and take them away, but we're acting, but within what we can act because of these protocols that we have to follow with these low-level crimes in this community. So that's a big struggle that we deal with, for sure.
And I want to thank you. I've seen multiple police officers approaching the homeless population within our parks and on the stairs. And they're very respectful in dealing with them. And you always make eye contact, so you're making them human, and you're treating them with humanity, and I really appreciate that. And I've heard multiple lessons going on from the police officers telling the people, well, if you would pick up your trash, and if you wouldn't just sit around loitering, and if you would be respectful of the people around and stop yelling, then people wouldn't be upset with you. And every time I've heard a police officer talk to one of the people who are within our parks and stuff, they've been respectful in that manner and very nurturing and trying to do the best they can for the situation. So I really thank the police officers for that. I think that is very important, humanity. We've got to remember that. Anything else?
I could just end with one thing, and it'd be a call to action. Often I hear that, you know, people don't want to bother us or give us a call. They feel like, you know, they're a nuisance by just calling dispatch. I would encourage the public to continue to call. They are our eyes and ears because we can't be every place at all times. We just don't have the number of officers to do that. So it is important that if somebody sees something, say something, give us a call the non-emergency number, just report it, and we'll get out there and handle it up. And we appreciate all the public input, and we make these decisions because of the public. That's how it's supposed to work, so thank you.
Do you know that non-emergency number?
Yeah, it's 324-9170.
9170, and if
Option
people, where is that? Isn't that located on our website someplace?
Yeah, it's on the police department's website. It's our primary phone number, and it's just option one if you want to skip all the voice prompts. Just hit option
Okay.
one, you'll get a dispatcher, and you can tell them the problem that you're seeing. We do have a lot of people that live in downtown that stay home all day long, and they're able to look out their window, and they're trying to enjoy the outside, and they're looking at our parks, and they're seeing stuff that we don't see. Just give us a call, and we can pedal down there and do what we can. Dave's kind of explained some of the challenges that we have, but, we can do something, even just interaction. Maybe it's their day, and then we can help them get to some place that offers some recovery services or something like that.
And I'd like to point out, you can respond as fast as you can with the number of police officers we have, but lots of times you're handling many other situations. And even when business manager Steve Buck calls, because I was in the office with him, you couldn't get to that situation for quite a ways, 20 minutes, half hour, because the officers on duty were handling multiple other situations. As we heard, sirens going by the office and stuff. So people have to remember that it can't always be instant.
Yeah, I
You
try to
do
tell
the best
people
you can.
the proactivity is really limited. We have enough officers to respond to the calls that are just called in with normal business. So it could take, half an hour, 45 minutes to get to a non-emergency call. That's unfortunate. If it's an emergency, we'll break people free, but often people are on emergencies and we just can't do that. So try not to be too judgmental if we don't get there within 5 to 10 minutes, but we'll get there and do the best we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Ann?
And I don't know if this can be done briefly, but, or maybe it's another conversation for Mad Dog Dyer? What is that?
Yeah, Mad Dog Mark Dyer.
And I do think he touched upon it, but some of my neighbors have been voicing concern, and I've had the same concern myself about some folks that have set up what appears like to be a semi-permanent location on Riverside Ave, and the pond has been addressed multiple times by our police department. But the concern is that difference between camping and, just napping during the day, right? Can you speak briefly about that difference
can.
between camping?
If you read our camping ordinance, it's things indicative of camping. A lot of belongings, a tent or some shade. If you're sleeping and you have everything that you own with you, we wake those people up, and I believe that is an indicative of camping according to our ordinance. If you're just laying in our park sleeping, that is not camping. That is sleeping. So it's a very gray area. I'm not going to tell you it's black and white, because it's not. And these guys face that challenge all the time, trying to decide, to treat everybody equally under the law. We don't want to discriminate against anybody, and everybody gets the right to enjoy our parks. So we have to walk that careful line, and we do that. And they know that those are the rules that we play by. And I wished it was easier to have an answer for that, but it's not. I mean, I know, I think you've been with me before when I've had to interact with people experiencing homelessness, and we've had the conversation, what do you think about that? And you and I talk about it for 10 minutes before we come up with a common answer, because it's just not simple. And kudos to these guys, because they're addressing that every single day, all the time. And they're calling me, we're calling each other. Dave and I have had plenty of conversations over the telephone about what he might think is camping and I don't, or I do and he doesn't. So we come to an answer that's best for the city of Sanford, that keeps us protected from any lawsuits or anything like that. And we want to treat everybody right. That is something that I do demand of the officers. That's how when I did homelessness, that's how I treated everybody. So we're still doing that. And unfortunately, right now, the issue is really bigger than the police department. I'm kind of getting off track, but you did open me up to get a little off track here. It's a little bit bigger than the police department. I mean, it's a state issue where we don't have enough places to bring people with mental health or substance use disorder, and we have no legal recourse to bring somebody there that, maybe the next day they could overdose and pass away. Unfortunately, we've seen it happen. We don't like to watch it happen, but right now, at the state level, we don't have the support we need to really make an impact on what you see in our community. So whenever somebody calls me about that, I just encourage them to call their local state representative and talk to them about it. Can I say something, sir? Yes, sir.
To that point as well, it's a big timing piece too, right? 2 o'clock in the afternoon, somebody's sitting down in that little area, I know the area you're talking about, with a fishing pole, actively fishing, but there's other stuff, remnants about that person. That becomes a gray area. 2 o'clock in the morning, that person's there when it's a park and it's closed, well, that's a less gray area, right? So it's about timing as well. So if you can call in the moment, and I'm not asking you to stay up till 2 in the morning, please don't. But it's a timing issue as well, especially when it comes to some of those gray areas with camping.
Yeah, the parks close at 11 and they open back up at 5, and the officers, if they're not on other calls, they check those places and make sure that 11, there's nobody in there sleeping on the benches and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is they're just going someplace else that we just don't know about. And that's where the bigger issue lies.
Thank you. Anything else? Steve?
So I'd like to address the elephant in the room, right? So the elephant in the room is the recidivism, right? It's that constant churn. People say, why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you doing more? It's the churn. It's the people with 20 and 30 bail conditions on their sheets that repetitively going, and they're out in 90 minutes, right? They're back on our streets in 90 minutes time. And then as soon as they identify as being unhoused, the homeless protocols sweep in because that's what we're mandated to do, right? So when we look at the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6 laws that were swept into the homeless protocol as to once somebody identifies as being unhoused, the level of enforcement drops dramatically. That's why I'm just separating out for myself going forward those people with a substance abuse disorder, right, and the mental health that can't make a decision. It's not that they're unhoused. The identifier is the substance use disorder and the mental health that's preventing them from being housed. Why must we treat them differently? Because they say I'm unhoused, then it's okay. But for anybody else, it's not.
I agree with you 100%, but again, it goes back to the legislature. I mean, the most sets we've seen is 23 sets of bail conditions. So if you don't think there needs to be bail reform, I don't know, we could talk about it later, but that means somebody's been arrested 23 times, and they've been let out each time on bail conditions, yet they've violated their 22 sets prior to get arrested a 23rd time. So it really doesn't make any sense. And those people we do end up taking to jail, but they don't have the capacity to hold them at the York County Jail for long periods of time. And honestly, I mean, they're committing a low-level crime. You can't hold somebody for a year for criminal trespass. So, you know, the whole system's kind of broken, that we have them in our custody, or the jail does at that time, yet we have no place to bring them, to give them the help they need, because they can't make the decision that the city manager talked about earlier. We used to have Layman's Way. We will have the new facility over there, and in Alfred. My wife's going to be mad at me. I don't remember how many beds it has. I want to say 54, but don't quote me on that. But either way, that still will be connected to their bail conditions and not a guarantee. Somebody says, no, I'm all set, I don't want to go there, they'll be right back in Sanford. So until the laws change where people are forced, and this is the area that everybody has their own point of view on, forced to take services when they don't want them, it's going to be really difficult to break that cycle. Because that's what it is we were talking before we walked in, maybe 50 people out there right now, same 50 people over and over, arrested, back, criminal trespass, back. It's never ending. And there is enforcement fatigue amongst the officers for this too. I mean, keep in mind how deflating that must be for an officer to do that 23 times over and over again. At some point, they're just going to throw up their hands and say, it's not even worth it, you know? And we try to encourage them not to do that. We don't want them to do that. That's not the best policing practice, but that's the reality of a human being. You can only do it so long when you also want us to do speed enforcement, and a lot of calls about that, obviously, we know that. And they, you know, and sit in the school zones, a lot of calls about that. So there's a lot of other things that we're trying to do, but yet we're being pulled away from things that really make a difference to service these people for 23, 24 times. And I'll kind of step off my soapbox, but I mean, this is not a new issue. It's just, it is reality now, because you see what you see in our city, and Nobody likes to look at it. We don't love policing it, you know? We feel bad. We are humans, you know, so, but
Eric, I think Steve made a very good point. He said it is not a housing issue. And we keep hearing from certain people, we need to house all the homeless. They have been offered housing, and they don't want it because they can't use their drugs within the housing. It's a mental health issue and the ability to seek help. One of the other things you made a comment about, Eric, was when it is, you're approaching somebody on the street, and they're finally willing to accept help, because that moment in time, something is clicked, and I need help. If there isn't a room someplace for them, we've lost the opportunity. So we do, as a state, need to address those issues and to have more facilities available to that. So more than housing, mental health, we need to focus on that more.
yeah, most of the people we're talking about, they don't have the skills to manage their life in an apartment. When we do what is it? It's not Housing First anymore. What are we calling it now? Back to
Home for Good.
Home for Good. If we're lucky enough to get the Home for Good down there on Heritage where it's said to go, that is designed for this population of people.
Yeah.
And that is good, because everybody does deserve a home. I mean, that's fact, right? I don't think anybody is going to argue that. But right now, the people that you see on the streets, we've done 2 or 3 hubs and offered them every opportunity. And you know, the first one we did 6 or 7 years ago, I mean, I do remember driving people to Milestone and driving somebody to New Hampshire or to the bus station to get them to a rehab in Boston. I mean, we've done all those things. But yeah, the mayor is right. If I've seen it fail, like they're in the moment, and then 24 hours goes by and you've lost it, and then they're back out. So it's kind of like in the moment, or you have very little chance.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to some of these things that are coming, but until then, right now, the officers should be enforcing laws and crimes. And let's not forget our social worker, who is out there also interacting and talking to people, and goes to Calls with Dave, and is that support network for these folks. So we have everything in place that needs to be. I just don't think we have enough people, really. That comes right down to do everything that the community wants us to do. So we'll keep trying. That's all we can do, is just do the best that we can.
I think the important thing I'd like to leave the public with is inside of pre-existing resources, we have another task force that we've started. We've had the Sheriff's Department, the county jails represented. We've had the District Attorney's Office. We've had Maine Health doing our representing the Emergency Department and the mental health aspect, our own mental health unit and police department administrative team and such, meeting on what can we do inside of pre-existing laws, pre-existing resources, but what can we do better that addresses the recidivism, right? You know, the opiate addicted person coming back around the loop constantly, unable to treat themselves. So we've made a little bit of inroad on that. I'm very proud of very, very pleased that the people that we need at the table have come to the table at the chief's calling. So we continue that again this week, and we'll continue to move forward with that. And I do believe that come December, when we talk about homelessness and such, we'll be talking to our legislators about some of these most recent elements. So.
Yeah, we really haven't talked about that group yet, but we've had one meeting, but that really is put together to save lives, overdoses, to prevent them. You shouldn't have 3 or 4 contacts with somebody and had an opportunity but missed it, because the law failed us. Those organizations didn't fail. We just did what we legally can do under the law. And, you know, the next day is their last day, unfortunately. So we got to get all these things fixed, and I know we're all trying to work at the same thing. Keep that in mind. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for all you do. Thank you very much. All right, the next is public participation. Is there anybody on that list that's right beside you?
I pulled the list, Madam Mayor. There were names on there, but everyone's been crossed off. I'm guessing it's for the last item.
The last, okay, good. All right, moving right along. We've got a public hearing, and I'll read what that is about. And the public hearings are for you guys, if you have any questions about what we're presenting at the public hearing. You will see the same item later on the agenda when we get to talk about it and vote on it. So Allison, you can come on down. The public hearing is to receive comments on changes to the City Ordinance, Chapter 70, Airport Article 2, Rules and Regulations. Allison, take it away.
Good evening, I'm Allison Navia. I'm the airport manager of our Sanford Seacoast Regional Airport. This public hearing is on an ordinance change. So the way that works is we have 2 different public hearings every time we want to amend one of the ordinances. Chapter 70 has everything to do with the airport, and Article 2 specifically is the rules and regulations. So if you'll think back, the reason that necessitated this change was the change in federal regulations when it comes to special events and uses of the airport that are atypical or have nothing to do with aviation. So FAA changed that back at the end of 2023. We're catching up now. And we had put in place back, jeepers, I think maybe 3 or 4 months ago now, a policy to just hold off on doing any events until we could figure this out. Originally, since you can see in here, that's a pretty heavy lift to come up with the whole policy, the procedure, the amendment, and the application. I had thought it would take all the way till the end of the year to get through that, but it seemed like it was a really important thing to prioritize, and so here we are at the beginning of September with the first read on it. So the change to the amendment itself is pretty minimal. It just adds in anything that's not within the minimum standards, and it also adds in the definition of what's, non-aeronautical use or a special event, and adds in the requirement for a permit to have that event. And then the big change is adding on the Appendix A, which will be very similar to the minimum standards appendix, where somebody would apply to have a new business on the airport, for instance. So it'll add that application. It'll be fair across the board, easy for everybody to find, right in the ordinance, and that goes through every step and every single thing that you need to do. So I can go over that now. We can talk about it later in more detail. To get to this point, we had a meeting that was open to the public, the Municipal Property Subcommittee meeting. That was on August 12th. There was nobody who participated from the public. And then we also reviewed it at the August 14th Airport Advisory Committee meeting. So we had good turnout for that one. There were a couple comments from some tenants, and their concerns were chiefly that now they kind of felt like this was advertising having airport events, and they were concerned that this was going to make there be more events. So we talked about that a little bit and how really what it's going to do is make it fair for every type of use of the airport. Everybody has to go through the same process. So I don't think necessarily that it would mean that there's more or less. It'll just be that the process now is codified in ordinance. So no opposition to it, so that moved forward with a recommendation to accept this from the Airport Advisory Committee meeting. And then written comments were to be directed. It was advertised in the Sanford Springvale News last week, 2 weeks ago. By 5 o'clock tonight. I did get an email from Dan Bowden about 5 minutes before 5 o'clock, so I'll review that, and at the next read, we'll go through whatever questions those are. It sounded like it was mostly, from reading it quickly, about insurance and liability types of things. So we can certainly address those. Do you want more information now? Do you
No,
want to
I
wait?
think that is great. Is there anybody here to speak in favor of this? Anyone to speak against? Hearing none, I close this hearing. All right, we'll be revisiting this again. There is no, the consent agenda. Is there any questions from the council on the consent agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Old business, there is no old business. New business. In order to allow the ASM Troop 320 to host the York District Scouting America Fall Jamboree at Gowan Park starting at 4 p.m. on Friday, October 17th, and ending at 12 p.m. on Sunday, October 19th, where they will camp overnight and use the park throughout the day. Come on down. I can tell you're the guy in the uniform.
Thank you, Mayor Brink. I haven't seen you since high school.
I know, it's great to see you.
Yes, so our Scouting America Troop 320 is sponsoring the York District Camporee, which invites all the troops within the York County area to camp. Our theme is going to be a Scouting Olympics, where we've prepared a variety of activity, where we're working to prepare a variety of activities, including like a shock put with a balloon, water balloon, those types of fun spin on those events. And we would love to use either Gowan Park and the adjacent Blumenfield, thank you, or either Springvale Rec. I've used the Springvale Rec years ago, and it went really well for a camporee, and we like to get the community presence when we do these type of big camporee activities.
I only have one basic question, because I can't stand the cold. How do you stay warm?
Oh, that's nothing. We do winter camping too, but it'll be October, so it certainly will be a brisk overnight.
Oh, yeah.
We expect typically sometimes 30s, sometimes even as low as 20s. But our scouts have camped in colder than that, and they come prepared. That's our motto, be prepared. So they'll figure all that out. For the most part, we have no trouble camping in the fall and spring. It does get a little cold at night, but it's nice during the day. So it'll be good weather, we think.
Oh, excellent. And I'd like to point out, we did not go to high school together because I am much older. I was the administrator, and he was the kid.
Yes.
They were looking at you going, he's in his 70s.
Becky, he has gray hair.
He does have gray hair.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I gray
How
young.
old does that make
I've been
you?
gray since 20s. All right?
How old does that make you, Becky?
You were a young assistant principal at the time, so
I
would
was,
say
I was. That's
you were way younger than all the other ones that came before you.
good answer. Any questions? Ann?
So I guess I'm not clear. Are we approving this for either location?
Well, we would prefer, I think our first point was the Gowan Park.
Okay.
We used that one for a Klondike about 3 or 4 years ago, and we really liked that location. There was a lot to that terrain. It was good accessibility, good parking. So that was why we were looking back to that location as well.
And that's what we're, it's on our
Yeah,
agenda.
Okay, I
that's
just
the one
wanted
we
to
would
make
like to have approved. And we would also be bringing in our own porta potties and whatnot for our scouts. Those would probably get delivered Friday morning and then get picked up the following Monday morning.
Okay. All right,
I think it
good.
was,
And
All right.
that's also Blumenfield too, right?
yes,
Both of-
yes.
Okay.
We
Downhill,
want to camp in the actual Gowan Park area, but you see it's not a huge area, but it's enough. We can make campsites in there and then have activities out in the woods area down and into the field.
All right, good. Any other, Ann?
Well, I guess I would just mention, being somebody who uses the trail systems very frequently there, we have had some unhoused that have been taken up, have a presence in the area, so if we can make sure it's
Safe.
swept or paroled in preparation for the event.
Scouts shouldn't be using those areas at night, and during the daytime when activities are going, they're going to be traveling in groups, at minimum of 2, because that's our buddy system policy, but at a camporee, it's usually more than that because they're traveling as a patrol or a troop. So in more than likelihood, you'd see groups of 5 to 7, maybe even 10 or 12 running around. And as we all know, there's safety in numbers, and they're quick to report anything that they see. They're also very good about picking up. Well, I know when we were there for the Klondike Derby, we were out in the woods. We cleaned up anywhere we had our camp stuff. We picked up trash, and I ended up taking out 2 bags of trash or so that our mayors had brought, and I imagine we will do that again.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
Just a comment. Yeah, I have some concerns about the safety thing, but it sounds like you've thought about that. Just make sure you communicate to people not to pick up any needles they might see, because there may be some
We would
out there.
actually advise them not to. We'll let our adults take care of that.
I appreciate you guys picking up after yourselves, but, you know. if
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
coming
last
across
time,
stuff
last
like
time the
that-
stuff we picked up was stuff like jeans and,
Yeah.
and a lot of empty cans and returnables, but that's fairly common. Those are the most common thing we pick up, is empties.
No, well, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob? Yes.
Move we approve the request.
Can I have a second, please? Nate? All those in favor? There you go. You're right to freeze. Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for coming. It was good seeing you.
Thank you very much, and I would encourage you, when you see us out there, come on by and say hi.
All right, will do.
Thank you for
We
doing
always
this.
love it when the public stops in and says hi.
Madam Mayor, I think we have some Rotarians in the off, and that were waiting maybe for the agenda item that went through consent agenda? Just to let them know that it's gone through.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys have gone through for it's the beer festival, right, at Memorial Gym? Yeah, it's gone through. You're welcome.
And next, in order to accept amendments to the city ordinance, Chapter 7, Article 2, Rules and Regulations regarding process, application, and approval of the special events and uses of the Sanford Seacoast Regional Airport. This item must be read on 2 separate occasions. This is the first reading, and Allison already got up and explained what it was. This is now the time you guys had a chance. This is the time you guys have a chance to let the public know we have been dealing with this for quite some time. It has been through subcommittees. We've all talked about it. So this isn't the first time we have been taking a look at this and fine-tuning it. So does anyone have any more questions? I don't want to beat this into the ground, but Ann, any
I was
questions?
just going to make a comment that the big bulk of this is the application form because it required minimal change to our ordinance.
Ann?
My only concern or question was relative to the application fee. It felt insufficient based on the amount of time I'm concerned that our airport manager will have to put into the process. So I just wondered what the discussions were at subcommittee or perhaps
I don't think we discussed the fee that much, did we?
It seems low to
No,
me.
not too much. We discussed it at the Airport Advisory Committee. They weren't concerned so much with the fee for the application. So the way that it's set up is we're required now to ask FAA preliminary permission just to get a litmus test of can we even do this or can we not? Do you want to put a bunch of effort into doing this? And I need to do that 120 days before the event. So what I wanted to do was not preclude anyone from applying by having a fee for that piece. So the section 1 is just, the basic items for me to be able to bring to FAA and say, can we do this? What do you think? How much is going to be required? Then if their answer is yes, here's your list of all the things that you need to gather and plan on. Then when they do section 2, the $50 would hit at that point. I chose 50 just from looking at the code enforcement fees, and that was the lowest one. So I didn't want it to be a barrier. Now, the airport committee was actually concerned with not charging some kind of a fee as a punishment if they don't do a report after the event. So they felt very strongly about how important it would be for us to know what was the economic impact of this, how many people showed up, what were lessons learned, all of that kind of stuff that we've been missing. So in the application, I put that it was a stipulation of getting a future event approved if you failed to report one before. But if it's someone's intention to just come in and do an event and then not do that in the first place, there's no teeth on the back end of it. So that was one comment that we received from the airport committee. And I kind of had mixed feelings about that as a deposit that you refund, but then that's quite a bit of work internally to add them as a vendor for the city to be able to cut a check to them. So I wasn't really sold on that. So I left it more as, it's a pretty good lift if you're gonna fill this application out and go through this process. So I think that somebody would be acting in good faith if they're gonna move through this entire thing. And I didn't feel the need, and by the time we talked through it at the airport committee, they didn't feel the need either to kind of push the issue of like a punitive fee if you don't do the report. And I just didn't want there to be too high of a barrier for the application itself. So that's why I just chose the lowest of Jamie's fees, which was $50.
Ann, do you feel comfortable with that?
I mean, I think it's low just in terms of the time that will be vested into any, but I also recognize that we have a 3% revenue factored in, if I understand that portion correctly.
Right, so it's $300 minimum or 3%. So, basically unless you make 10 grand, you're gonna be paying $300. And you have to, it's one of the FAA stipulations that they have to reimburse all of our actual time. So if it's an event on the weekend and Joe and I have to come and set up barricades and be there to run interference on the radio or do any of that kind of stuff, then all of that time will be invoiced. And that's actually pretty substantial once it starts getting added up. Police details are substantial, fire department details are substantial, and for a lot of the things that would qualify for this, those would probably be required. So at that point, you're probably talking thousands of dollars. So I wanted to keep the airport side of it just covering it, And I think this makes my job actually a lot easier than it has been as far as these go, because I was collecting all this information without a form and trying to keep track of all of it. And in some cases, even either helping write security plans or safety plans or writing them completely myself, like for the CDL course. So this way, it'll actually relieve me of a little bit of that because they'll be submitting it. So that's why I was comfortable with the $50.
All right, any other questions? And I'd like to point out, Pete is on the Airport Advisory Committee, so we get a lot of our information through him. And one of the reasons why we need this is, and some airports can do whatever they want, is because they don't accept federal funding. In order to keep our airport running and in the good condition it is in, because we are the busiest airport in Maine, I'd like to point that out. We have the most takeoff and landings, and as Pete can contest, because his house is right there and mine's on the other side. So that's why we have to do all this. So you might hear some airports don't have to do this. They probably have no federal funding. So that's part of the thing. So this is the first reading. So this will be on the next agenda again for the second reading, and that's when we will vote on it at that point. Thank you, Allison.
Very good, thank you.
All right, the next, and for those people who are waiting out here, yours is going to be the very next one after this. So if anybody needs a bathroom break, it's out there and to the left, because this won't take me too long to get to, but we'll get through it. In order to sign the municipal warrant calling for the municipal elections to be held on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, at the new consolidated voting place at Sanford High School and Regional Technical Center, 100 Alumni Boulevard, Sanford. Polls will open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Absentee voting will begin on or about Monday, October 6, 2025, pending shipment of ballots. The voting will take place during normal business hours, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. in the third floor conference room, which is actually just right out here, the very next room right there. In addition, there will be extended office hours to accommodate voters who wish to vote an absentee ballot to register to vote or update their name or address on Thursday, October 30th, from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m., as this is the last day to request an absentee ballot. And I know I read that very fast. That will be on our website. They post the minutes and stuff on there if you weren't aware. Plus, all that information will be on under voting anyway. So, can I have a motion to accept this, please? Ann?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
As second. Nate?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Are the bathrooms going to be open at this polling station? Because the last time, I got a lot of complaints about that. You're waiting in line and they have to go
We
to the
did talk to
bathroom.
the high school about that, and I know they're trying to make arrangements. I can't remember, had they been arranged?
That needs to be addressed.
Sue, you're on by Zoom. Do you know the answer to that? I don't know if she can, she's... There we are.
There you
Hello,
are.
Sue.
Hi.
Are there going to be bathroom facilities that are safe and people can use? Does the
State
school,
law does not require restrooms be available at a voting place. The restrooms that are adjacent to the gym where the voting is taking place are actually locker rooms, which have students' personal belongings. And they prefer not to have them open.
and
I
this is
do-
the low attendance one anyway, and so it's
Students
usually
are at
faster than, so it's pretty fast for this one. School is open, that's the problem for this time, because where there is, we don't have as many people voting, normally we close the high school for the big elections.
Yeah, and I was concerned about that. I mentioned that to Matt Nelson. I thought that it was going to be for all November elections, that there would be no students in the building. But he said it was only for the presidential, so I guess we'll have to take that into consideration in the future.
Presidential and gubernatorial, we discussed.
Yeah, so even years,
Even
no
years.
students, odd years.
We can
Students could be the-
discuss the bath, I mean, if it's gonna be a bathroom, it's gonna be a porta potty, I'd say.
Yeah.
So we can discuss porta potties.
There has to be something there, I'm not voting for it.
Well, bathrooms have really not been provided, it's been at the.
In most of
at
our
the
voting
grace
places.
At the grace of the people who own the facility in the past. You'd have to walk downstairs at St. Ignatius Gym.
Yep.
So that wasn't convenient for anybody. I believe Nassau Community Center gracefully allowed people to do it, but I don't think she loved it, but it's not required, so I'm fine with this location. You're going in and out, if you have to use the bathroom while you're there, I question.
Okay, Jonathan, do you have a thing?
Yeah, I just had some similar concerns. But somebody mentioned the locker rooms being used. I mean, don't they lock the lockers or have them emptied by the end of the day anyway? Are people leaving personal items in a locker room? I mean, when I was in school, you left anything like that anywhere, it would get stolen. So I'm a little surprised to hear that, but.
And we can always check into that, too, because we have a meeting with Matt, I think,
Okay.
next week.
I had a lot of complaints about the bathroom situation with the last election, you know, especially with candidates being there, and poll watchers and things like that. And there was, you know, some people were allowed to use them and others weren't. So there was discrimination there, at least from what I understand. So I would like to get this cleared up if we can.
Ann?
I mean, a solution of a porta potty being brought in seems fairly straightforward and not terribly high in cost, right? Like, would that be the,
I'd be fine with that.
but I hear what Sue's saying is it's not required, so it would be an additional cost to make that happen, which I'm not sure what even look at ADA accessible porta potty, how extensive that cost would be.
Well, why don't we let us talk to Matt first and see what the possibilities are, and
But
then we can talk about the costs.
But regardless, the warrant is to approve having the
voting
election
times.
at this time and location, which is our approval. We're not changing the location at this point.
No, we are not. We've already voted on the location. The location is not changing, because that was already a done deal.
Most of the places we had in the past are not gonna get approved again anyway.
No. we
They were
can't move it.
they were grandfathered, so.
So, can I have a motion, please? Ann?
I move to approve.
Second, Bob? All those in favor? 4, all those against? 5. All those opposed?
If we put on the future agenda to discuss the bathrooms, I'll vote for it, positive, but if there's no.
We have the votes, so it doesn't really matter.
That's just inhumane for our elderly, and I'm against it.
We have the votes, so it doesn't really matter. It's five people to 2, so.
5 to 2. All right, thank you. All right. In order to discuss mobile home parking lot rentals and a request to consider the lot rental control ordinance. And I'm going to point out that there is a difference between renting an apartment and owning a mobile home and renting the land. And 2 friends of mine are trying to sell their home, which has been impossible to sell once the person finds out that the rent on the land is going to almost double. And they can't afford to buy the place because of the rent on the land. So this is different, having an apartment that you're just paying for the apartment. You're not paying for a land type thing. You don't own the apartment. This is the people own and have paid a mortgage and own their home on a piece of land they're renting. So now what it looks like, to me anyway, this is where I'm not a political person, it looks to me like the people are being held hostage who owns those homes on that land. And I know I've probably pretty well simplified this, but that's what I see happening. And that's why I did not want you just under public participation, because then we couldn't talk to you. But by putting you on the agenda, and I'm sorry you had to wait so long, but you were last on our agenda, I wanted to be able to talk back and to ask questions, and I wanted the council to be able to ask you questions, which we couldn't if you were only under public participation. So I apologize for you having to wait so long, but I think it's going to be worth it. Okay? And I'd like to point out that Steve and I started over a year ago researching all this stuff about the mobile home parks and trying to find information. And so you guys have been on our minds for a long time. So I'm glad you came forward, because I think now is the time for a change. I think sometimes, you know, it might not be time and nobody's willing to change. I think this is the time. So I know you have a spokesperson for one of the places who's going to come forward, and he said there might be several other people who want to speak with him or after him. And I know it can be very intimidating to come down here, and so if you need to come in with a group to stand there and speak, please feel free to do that, because this could be intimidating. Also, in case you didn't know, this is not our camera, this looks like it's TV land. So that could make it even more intimidating, but it'll be fun. So, come on down. Please introduce yourself and where you live. Yeah. We need you to tell us your full name and where you live, because we have to put it in our records.
Thank you for putting me at ease. You stole most of my thunder, but that's okay. There's a lot more. My name is Darryl Marin. I live in Marshbrook Estates. Thank you for allowing us to be here and to listening to us. As you can see, we're a group, mostly Marshbrook, but we also have other park residents.
One moment.
From other mobile home parks.
Madam Mayor, I don't think you need to stand in line to speak. Please feel free to stay seated. You'll be able to raise your hand, because there's some people waiting in line, I think.
You don't have, unless you're coming down as a group and you're coming right after him. But please don't have to, you don't have to stand. Thank you, Maura.
Okay. I'm here with a group of homeowners that all have a concern and a vested interest in the rising rents for land only that we pay to the park owners, which is Phillips International. They're headquartered out of Long Island, New York. We are in need of your help to look into Article LD 1723 and support us in capping the gouging increases we are experiencing. We thank you in advance for listening. And to each of us would like to present personal situations. So I'll start with myself. My husband and I have been residents of Marshbrook Estates for over 15 years. Our home is one of the 28 in our unit. In 2010, we sold our home in Wells and moved into what we hoped was our forever home. Over the years, we invested well over $60,000 making improvements. I'll give you a few examples, such as replacing roof, windows, furnishing, keeping it up to date, making our home current, comfortable, and hopefully we had it ready so that we're fine for life. As seniors, because we are a senior mobile home park of 55 plus, other parks may not be 55 plus, but they're experiencing the same difficulties, and many seniors have made mobile homes their residence for life, hopefully. So as seniors, most of us are on fixed income, and as we age, our health and medical needs are costing us even more. Let me state a few of the issues that we've run into. Others will state some of their own issues. We've had 3 ownerships in the years that we've been there. The care and maintenance of the land facilities have gone up have diminished while our lot rents have drastically increased. As you know, we also pay property taxes to the city. Details of these issues will be addressed by other speakers from our park. We have no on-site park management, and we need to hound the ownerships, such as multiple calls to New York, Long Island, emails. It can take us sometimes no response, weeks, months, and over a few issues, it's gone into years. An example of that is our backup generator for our pump house. Simple as it sounds, there was no backup generator the entire time until just recently. If we lose power, we lose water. That means many of the seniors that might need the water for not only cleanliness, but for different types of health and hygiene, that now has been cleared up. It did take a lot of pushing and persuading. Hazardous trees trimmed. We had a lot of trees that overlapped, and as they grew through the years, they lean and they come close to our homes. We actually had one split and come aiming right at our front door. Finally, it got taken care of. Mailbox posts, something as simple as that. Mailbox posts were decaying. We finally brought the point up to the management, and they took a 4x4, sturdied it up, and wrapped duct tape around it. They're now starting to put a concrete slab down. It's going on and on and on. We still don't have the new mailboxes. Just to show you, overall neglect. It's taken quite a while to get the attention when you're totally out of state and you're dealing with not a mom and pop mobile home park, you're dealing with an international company who thinks 28 mobile homes is really nothing. So without any management, we've bonded as friends and neighbors to take care of one another. Examples are helping each other by sharing park information that management should be providing. We have no clubhouse, we have no management office, so we keep an eye on each other. We have many that are possibly shut-ins or need medical attention on oxygen and have to get around. We do walks every day, a couple of times a day. We invite anyone to come out and walk and just do things to get kind of healthy. We don't have a clubhouse. We don't have a gymnasium or anything like that. Even wheelchairs. Come on, let's go. Let's get out and get some fresh air and about. We go to dinner, restaurants. As a group when we can, those who are interested, welcome to join in. If you need an urgent ride for an appointment or something, we share. We take care of it. You get the picture. We're not perfect. We're not all exactly close friends and tight with everybody, but we're more like a family. We just plain look out for each other. So that's my portion of what I would like to present to you and what our home life is like. Your point, Mayor, about being here, not being a politician, but loving the area, that's why I'm here too. If you have any questions, need some clarification, or want more details, please let me know.
Thank you. Any questions?
If you don't need them right now, feel free to. Yes, sir.
Pete?
So a lot of people are thinking modular homes or trailers. The trailers.
We're manufactured homes.
Right, and manufactured homes, those are hard to move.
Yeah.
So they would have to actually break them and prep them to move. So you're talking a massive expense. So I'm having a hard time with all your rates being hiked up because that's just not an option to move your modular home. So that's where I'm at on all of this. So thank
Axles
you.
are removed.
Right.
Hitches are off. They are in place.
I'd like to let the audience know you do not speak unless called upon, and to let you know, I call upon the council. So to let people know when you are up there speaking, it's so nice being mayor. I get to be in charge. And in fact, my husband thinks I get out my being in charge in this meeting, so then he's freer. So let me be in charge.
Absolutely.
Right? Good. All right. Jonathan's next, then Ann.
So thank you for the question about the house type. So they are manufactured homes, not a mobile home that would be relatively easy to move. Do you have some sort of a legal contract with the company that you're renting the property from? Is it like an HOA of any kind?
We pay a lot rent.
Okay.
We do have a contract that tells us, what the do's and don'ts of the park as far as regulating. They take care of the snow plowing of the main road. We maintain our own piece of property that we rent. Mm-hmm. They provide water, the well water. They have septic systems, which they maintain. They take care of trash pickup. So there are certain things that they cover for us, and there is an agreement between us, correct?
Is the stuff you're having issues with not in part of that agreement, or are they in violation of the agreement?
Are they in violation of that?
Well, you mentioned things like the mailbox and
Right.
tree removals and.
Yeah, if those things
general
occur,
maintenance things.
we need to bring it to their attention. They probably don't even know and see it. I've never seen anyone from the park ownership on our property. So,
Okay, but is that stuff is there anything like that in the contract? Just out of curiosity.
What he wants to know is that they probably have certain regulations that they have to follow in order to, like, to mow certain things, or to plow, or to repair the mailbox. Is it their job to keep the land, which you're renting, the land good?
yes. I'll use an example of the trees that I mentioned. The trees are owned by them. It's, part of the property. So if a tree needs to come down and it's causing a hazard, then yes, it's their responsibility that they will maintain it. And it is in the contract that they will maintain it. The amount of time to get the point across and to get them to have it done takes quite a while. Or if they don't deem it necessary, then they don't do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nate? Oh, sorry, Ann.
I don't want to put you on the spot any further than you already have been this evening, but can you give us a sense, if not actual monthly rental amounts, which might be personal in nature, but percentage increases that you've experienced? You mentioned
I
substantial.
apologize, I wear hearing aids, but I didn't want it
He's
to
got
echo in
another
here.
person's in charge of that part.
Okay, I just want to
Maybe
understand what substantial means.
We'll hear from a few more people first,
Yes.
because I think your
I'm
questions
not
might
wanting
be
to speak
answered.
for everybody, because people have
Yeah.
each their own situation.
They wanna
And the
hear it.
rents will be addressed, right? Thank you.
Okay, so why don't you take a seat and we'll get the next person up?
Very good.
Who else, if you know who's going to be talking, let us know.
Ms. Sally Harrington and Ms. Phyllis Bonia.
Thank you. Could you hear that? Was it Ally Harrington?
Sally?
Sally Harrington. And what was the other name?
Phyllis Bonia, B-O-N-I-A.
And are they of the same park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate and want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you in person. My name is Sally Harrington, and I have resided in Marshbrook Estates, a 55-plus manufactured home community, since 2014. I own my home, but not the land it sits on. So I pay a park fee to the owner, which initially was increased every few years. But more recently, the fee has been substantially increased yearly. During my 11 years here, I have experienced changes, such as neighbors moving away and new ones moving in. My house has aged, as have I. Now, I am a member of the 80s Plus Club. Costs for older items in my home, such as a new furnace last year and a new water heater, have eaten into my monthly budget. Also, the park owners do not pay for lawn maintenance or driveway plowing, and these costs take a huge bite out of my Social Security income. In January of 2024, I became a widow. Of the 28 homes in our park, 17 have single dwellers, several of whom, like me, are widows, and Phyllis is one also. Now, being a widowed homeowner, I have a very limited Social Security income only. With the rapid increase of the park fee, which is very high and unfair, I am obligated to pay an amount that takes a significant portion out of my Social Security check and puts a problematic strain on paying other bills. This causes me to make serious choices and decisions that impact my monthly budget. What will happen if I cannot afford to stay in my home? I have deep concerns about the condition of my financial future. Therefore, I am respectfully asking, no, I am pleading with you to put yourselves in our positions and take action. We need your help. And again, thank you. Any questions?
No, we're going to wait, we're going to get everybody to speak first, and then we're going to ask questions.
Okay.
Because I
Sounds
think
like a
each one of
plan.
you has a little part, but
All right.
thank you, you did an excellent job. So the next person is it Elaine? Ellen?
Hi, everybody. My name is Ellen Papali, and I'm a resident of Marshbrook Estates. My parents bought the house in 1995. My father died in 2010. I moved in with them to take care of my parents who could no longer live alone, and that was in the beginning of 2008. I was able to buy the home in 2010 through their estate, no mortgage. I am behind with my taxes. Now the rent has gone up $150 in 13 months. The house has been in the family for 30 years. I could no longer afford to live there. Rent up, taxes up, electric up, food up, and I can't even afford a car. When I sell the house, I will be more or less homeless. I'll have some money from the sale of the house, but it won't last long. I'm applying for Section 8, which I hate to do. I have always had a place of my own and could afford, what I could. And this is sad, scary, and stressful, but I know I'm going to be okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. The next speaker?
Good evening. Madam Mayor, City Council members, my name is Bruce Gordon and I reside at Marshbrook Estates in South Sanford, which is a 55-plus community, once again owned by Phillips International out of New York. The majority of the tenants at this property are living on Social Security. Due to the high cost of yearly property rental fee increases, many of us tenants that have retired are now being forced to procure part-time employment just to be able to meet our monthly obligations. These park rents, once again, are for the property that our homes sit on, but not our homes, as there is a misconception out there. We are also responsible for our bank mortgages, city taxes, home repairs. We also have a financial obligation of maintaining the land, keeping it well-groomed, and that also includes fall and spring cleanups. Many of our tenants are not able to do that physical work themselves and must hire landscaping people, which adds to the cost of maintaining their property. This is a burden. I myself retired in 2021, but I'm now back to work for 30 hours a week, part-time. I understand that Phillips International is not a nonprofit company and that they have made an investment in Marshbrook Estates, which, by the way, has very few amenities, only the minimum basics. I also realize that as tenants of this property, we are now caught in a catch-22, as if we are unable to meet our monthly obligations. Our only alternative is to get up, sell, and move on. Well, this is really easy to say, but very hard to do. I am requesting that a cap be put on rental increases. This year, the increase was approximately 14.9%. I now pay $600 a month, which is $7,200 a year for the land. Some of my new neighbors are paying as much now as $10,000 a year. That's bordering on absurdity, in my opinion. This without even an explanation from our landlord as to why the need for that 14.9%. Therefore, we are here tonight asking for your help. With the state of the economy, with the new tax burdens, with the cost of day-to-day living, we, the middle class, are taking a huge hit. Now, I'm 81 years old, and I really don't want to be forced to work anymore. I want to experience this rumor that I've heard my grandparents talk about, the golden years. Thank you for allowing us to come here tonight to speak our minds.
And thank you. I really appreciate you coming forward and telling us that information.
Good. Thank
And
you.
I'm really concerned about just what management is doing with the land. If you have to maintain all the mowing, you have to take care of the land. What?
Everything.
It doesn't make, what are you paying for? Just to have your house sit there?
Bare necessities.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good evening.
Here's the money guy, right?
Young money guy.
All right.
My name is Richard Russell. I'm a resident of Marshbrook Estates. My home is 37 Marshbrook Crossing. Now, I've only lived there since last January, so I'm one of the new guys on the block. You may look at me and you say, how did you sneak in to a 55-plus community?
You're right.
It's
amazing.
I want you to know I'm 88 years old, but I ain't dead yet. I moved in here because I became a widower. I was on my own. I tried living with family, and I'm too damned independent for that. So I bought this home after looking around to several communities, and I thought this place was a place to live. And I was right. I have got the best neighbors, the friendliest neighbors that anybody could ever ask for. But here tonight, we're here to talk about the rent. Now, you heard several members of our community speak about the out-of-control rent increases that we're facing and of the effects they're having on some of their lives. Some of them will bring tears to your eyes, as you might have heard a few minutes ago. It's pretty difficult to get an understanding of what they're talking about, and several of you have asked the question. So I, being the financial guy, have prepared a chart. Oh, there it is right there. I have to explain to you, we don't have a easel to put the chart on, so my friend Darrell here has been practicing for the last week to be an easel. This chart shows the monthly lot rent at Marshbrook Estates, right here on the vertical line. Goes up to $1,000 a month. By year, on the horizontal line here, starting at, I think it's 1994 and going through the present. I have charted these steps of increases based upon the actual records of one of our long-term homeowners, and I'll mention again later what the implication of that is. Our Marshbrook Estates has had 3 owners over the past years. A gentleman, Robert D. Gendro, never knew the man, but he evidently founded the park back in 1994. He was a resident of the park, lived in it, and maintained it. Until, in about 2014, it was sold to Basswood LLC. It was sold again in the latter part of 2020 to Phillips International, and you'll see that that is our problem.
Could you turn that so people in TV land could see that?
Yeah.
In case people, that red line just zooms right up there. Yeah.
Phillips International is based in Great Neck, New York. They specialize in the acquisition and management of commercial properties. According to their website, Phillips International has a growing portfolio of nearly 300 holdings across the United States, including, the best I could figure out, 84 manufactured home facilities, and you often hear it referred to as a mobile home park. If you can make some of those homes mobile, you're welcome to it. Phillips International, and make no mistake about it, they are the direct cause of the problem
we're seeing today in the excessive, out-of-control increases in monthly lot rent in Marshbrook Estates. Now, under the ownership of Mr. Gendro and Basswood LLC, and actually, the rent started out, I'm told by people who've been around a lot longer than me, at $96 a month, way down here. This rent went to $325 a month over the period here of 26 years. That's on the green line. This amount of increase over 26 years. And I think that we can all admit this was probably a needed increase to keep up with the cost of maintaining the park and with the normal growth in income in the United States. However, from the time Phillips International took over, it went from $400, what did I say it was? Yeah, $400, all the way up here to $900 a month. Now, you may wonder why these steps that I took from the actual records only go up here to $600 a month. And that's one of our problems, at least mine, because Phillips International's got a little financial trick up their sleeve. Whenever a property comes up for sale, they increase the rent over what the park residents are commonly paying. For instance, personal experience, when I bought my home up here, I started out at $800 a month. A few months later, it went up to $875, right up there. Up here is $900 a month, and that is what's being advertised today as the lot rental. Some people, because they started out here and they got the normal increases, only pay $600 a month. That doesn't make me too happy. I've got a neighbor across the street who pays $600 a month. I pay $875. I've got a neighbor next door. I won't mention any names, but they pay $600 a month. I pay $875. But this increase right here is the reason that we have the problem. Where am I here? Okay. This, oh no, you don't need it. You don't need it. I'm just going to talk for a minute. This inconsistent, rapidly increasing lot rent rate will no doubt, and I think some people are feeling it now, but I can't attest to that, but it will no doubt affect the willingness of some lenders to let a mortgage go to someone, particularly if they're on a fixed income. Because the lenders don't know what the rent's going to be next year and the year after that, and if the person they're giving a mortgage to can afford to keep paying that rent. Of course, this may in turn make it more difficult for an aging homeowner, like you have seen here, who feels that she has got to move, either due to health reasons or she just can't pay. It makes it more difficult for her to sell her home. Because the home she may be paying $600, they're going to now ask $900 a month for lot rent. Now, I hope this chart's kind of clarified the exorbitant, out-of-control lot rent increases that we are experiencing in Marshbrook Estates and why we're appealing to you to help us out in this. I want to thank you very much for letting us speak to you, and I'll let the next person stand up.
And I want to thank you for the presentation. I don't know if you are aware, but our business manager loves charts and graphs.
Well, if you've got a business manager, I will let him have my chart. You like charts and graphs?
Yep, leave it right there. That would be perfect. And I used to be a math teacher, so I appreciate that. Is this, was that him? Okay. And is this Tammy?
This is Tammy.
Tammy, what is your last name?
It's Gerton. I'm Tammy Gerton. I do not have any charts. I apologize. I guess I wasn't fully prepared for this. I've lived in Marshbrook Crossing for, it's going on 9 years now. My husband and I bought our place as a downsizing with the intention that we could retire there. And we liked that it was one-story living, and it's just really good. I am, too, one of the ones that is a widow. My husband passed away 3 years ago. I, too, have the same concerns that my neighbors have when it comes to the amount of the rent and how out of sync the increases seem to be with other parks in our area and even with just the general cost of living in our area. It is pricing folks out of their homes. And the lot rent, like you said, it's unlike traditional apartment rents. There are no available subsidies for us. We can't go get Section 8. I'm assuming that if we were truly indigent, maybe you guys would give us some money out of the general fund, but not like every month. And it wouldn't be fair to everybody else to pay my rent every month. And it wouldn't be solving anything, because if you did give me money every month, it's going to that, it's going to Phillips International. It's truly not easing my burden, but it's not doing any, it's still giving the money in the wrong place. And if you can't afford it, you do have the option to sell, but it's not easy to sell your home. And we cannot move our homes. Those homes, in our contract, it says that we cannot move our home, so it's not even an option if we wanted to. And several of us, myself, I have a 2-car garage. I can't move a 2-car garage. So it wouldn't be an option anyway. Selling the property is not as easy as if you just owned a piece of property on a home on a regular piece of land. The homes are considered personal property. They're not considered real estate. And they have limited loan programs for potential buyers because of that. The next hurdle is obviously the lot rent. Phillips International, who owns our park, now does ask for $900 a month for new people coming in. That's as of January 1st. Estes Park, which is right across the road from us on New Dam Road, their lot rent, they had a home listed there and it was at $425. We can't even begin to compete with that. My mom, who was also my neighbor, she passed away last year, so my brother and I were tasked with selling her home. He lives in Ellsworth, and he's not 55, so he was like, no, I'm not coming to Sanford and moving down there. So we put her home on the market. Now, my mom's home, she had lived there for 8 years, and I did a lot of work on my home. She did about the same kind of work on her home. She has an oversized 1-car garage. She has irrigation. She has leafless gutters. She has a shed, a couple of heat pumps, new luxury vinyl plank flooring throughout her home, a brand new custom kitchen that we tore out her entire kitchen and put a brand new kitchen in, has granite countertops, it has the farmhouse sink, has soft closed drawers. I mean, it's got the same kind of stuff you would see in any refurbished home. And at that time, when and these are quality upgrades. They're not builder grade or trailer quality. I mean, if anybody's been, they know. So at the time that we listed her home, they told us it was $800 a month that the new person was going to have to pay going in. Our nearest comp at that time was in Estes Park, and that had sold 6 months before our home, and it was the same size. It was a single wide, and that home was a little bit newer than my mom's, but it had all the original furnishings, all the original finishes, rather. So there had been no updates to it. There was no garage, no heat pumps, no irrigation. It's right on New Dam Road. Arguably, you could say that the curb appeal is not great. It was the same size, and that home sold for $135,000. With the additional amenities that my mom's home had, the garage, the heat pumps, et cetera, we listed her home at $150,000. And this was not an aggressive price. We were not looking to get rich off this thing. We were looking to, accommodate for all of everything that my mom had lovingly put into her home. It matched the values in surrounding areas and was considered priced to sell. It sat on the market for 5 months. We had several showings. Everybody loved the layout and the finishes. They all raved about the kitchen. They loved the floor. They loved how convenient things were with the irrigation, and they didn't have to get up there and scrape their gutters. They have a garage to park their vehicle in. They loved it. But what they couldn't get past was the $800 a month lot rent. We even had one person that applied for a loan and couldn't get the loan because they couldn't afford, on paper, lot rent and a mortgage. We ultimately sold our home for $130,000 to my wonderful neighbor who has the chart. And I'll tell you, he is well worth it. We love him. He's well worth it.
But he's not over 55, which was a problem.
Right. But we did end up selling for $20,000 under our list price. And I truly believe, and I'm so glad that Dick is definitely, he's a treasure. But I do believe that if the lot rent had been a little bit more competitive, if we'd been in, say, the 500 range, we would have sold quicker. We had to carry the home and pay lot rent for 5 extra months that my mom wasn't even there because we couldn't sell the home. And we might have got a little bit closer to our asking price. Now, we got the offer in early January, like January 3rd or 4th. And when our broker brought it to the park owners, they tried to come back and say, oh, now the rent is $900 a month. And I totally flipped my wig. I said, we've already been sitting on this for 5 months. You want me to be in foreclosure on this thing? Because my mom did have a small mortgage, and it was just ridiculous. Like, because it crossed the calendar year, all of a sudden it's $900 now. And I did. I had a pretty strong conversation with Nikki, the person that runs the park from New York. And she was like, oh, I didn't realize it was you. So yes, we can leave it at $800 a month, which they raised his rent to. So it was, that was definitely very, very problematic. It seems very greedy to me. But, I'm not expecting the owner of a park to take it on the chin. They're a business, we're a capitalist country, but we shouldn't be taking it on the chin either. I mean, this is my mom's equity that she built in that home, and we weren't even looking to make $1 million off this thing. We just wanted to sell it at a fair market value, and that fair market value was completely different between 2 different parks because one charges $425 and the other one charges $800 or $900. So my ask for you at this point is, you've seen the chart, you've seen how high it's gone up and how quickly. It's not just how much it's gone up, it's how quickly. $75 a year, $150 in the last, like she said, 13 months. It just seems like there's some price gouging going on, and there are protections in our laws. You can't price gouge gas when there's a hurricane. We shouldn't be able to price gouge these mobile home parks just because they can, and we have no real options. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Tammy. All right, the next person is Leah.
Good evening. My name is Lee Wood, and I reside in Marshbrook Estates on Marshbrook Crossing. I have here a park rent stabilization ordinance, which will be voted on by the Old Orchard Beach Town Council tomorrow night. I have been made aware that you've also seen it and read through it. Mm-hmm. It provides protection for mobile home/manufactured homeowners to ensure that lot rents remain affordable and that increases are not excessive. It states that park owners must be accountable and provide documentation outlining their financial information as well as reasons, costs, and justification for increases. An arbitrator then reviews and decides whether the proposed increase is reasonable, keeping in mind the park owner's right to a fair return on investment. This 22-page ordinance is comprehensive and has not left anything out. This is precisely what is needed in the city of Sanford. The homeowners of Marshbrook Estates and other parks in Sanford have suffered these rent increases, and as you've heard tonight, we are concerned with how they have already affected our homeowners and how far they will escalate. Phillips International leases land to approximately 340 homeowners in Sanford. If you calculate just the increase of $75 each month for the entire year, that totals $306,000. We doubt very much that their costs increased enough to justify this. If their ultimate goal is to raise every homeowner's lot rent to the highest paid right now, which is $900, they will be grossing $3,672,000 a year just from those 4 parks. For a moment, please put yourselves in our position. Consider how you would feel if your lien holder increased your monthly mortgage payment every year by 14% or more with no recourse. We're upset, we're frustrated, we're concerned, and we're coming to you for real help. Please approve an ordinance like this one so that seniors can remain in their homes without worrying about their remaining days. We want to ask you to establish a working group within this council to examine issues related to lot rent increases so that we can work together to address this troubling issue. If no action is taken and no relief is provided, the results could be catastrophic. People who could become homeless and have nowhere to go may end up on the city's doorstep asking for help. We already have a challenge with homelessness here and don't need more Sanford residents seeking the city's assistance when this may be prevented. We appreciate all of you listening to the homeowners of Marshbrook Estates tonight. Please read and give this ordinance thoughtful consideration. Thank you.
And I also know you're speaking for the other parks too, because I bet they fall right into line, with exactly what your group is saying. So it would have to be something not just for your park. We would look at something for all the parks and stuff.
Exactly.
That's our challenge. So I agree.
We would like it if we could be a part, if a couple of the residents could be a part of that working group so we could work with you to get this done.
Excellent. Thank you. Come on down.
Hello, my name is Michael Healy. I'm in Country Living Park, owned by Phillips. I wanted just to point a few things out to you. I helped move LD 1723 to the governor's desk. I was one of many people who did that. When I was going around to the Country Living Park, I had a lot of people who did not want to sign the petition to move the bill forward to the governor's desk out of fear of retaliation. I have people that was saying to me off the record, I can't pay for my light bill because my rent's here. I can't pay for the medication, and many people are getting sick because they can't pay these rent increases. They're not putting money into their medications. There's a lot of stuff. This is a personal thing. This isn't just a financial gain that we're looking at. We're losing our shirts. The other thing I wanted to point out, it's not as easy for us just to move a mobile home. If they're older than a certain year, it's against the law to move them off the lot. And there's many homes in these parks, all of them, that can't be moved. So we're locked in. I've met with a realtor who told me she's had people totally refuse to look at the park, any home in these parks, because of the high rent. They're coming in at $900 a month now for most of Phillips parks. New people buying trailers at $900. The rest of us are paying less. It's locking us in, and it's security for Phillips that they're going to have monthly rents from us. Because if new people aren't coming in, then we're locked in and we can't do it. Some people have mentioned this other stuff, that's why I'm delayed. I just ask you to look at us as people, not as parks, because we all have hearts and we're all trying to just make it like everybody else. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for sharing. Is there anybody, come on down, young lady.
Hi, thank you for hearing us. I live in Pinewood Park. That is another Phillips International Park. It's on 109 in South Sanford. I'm not nearly as good an organizer as Daryl is, so I think I'm the only one here from Pinewood, and I wanted us to have a voice in this too. So thank you for listening.
All right, thank you. And we do know it has to encompass all the parks. Sheila, are you coming down? In all disclosure, Sheila and I have been friends for years.
Yes, we have. I'm Sheila Hills. I live at Old Colony Village, which is off of New Dam. It's a community of 9 of us. Again, we're dealing with the same thing with Phillips International. I moved there 16 years ago, and rents before used to be like $10 or $15, and that was like every 2 years. Phillips bought us in July of 21. The first month after they bought it, it went up 10%. The following year, it went up another 10%. The year after that, it was 12%. Last year was 18%, and this year it was 15%, as effective as of yesterday. Again, we're dealing with the same people coming in. It's $900, which is making it difficult for them to sell their homes. So I just ask for your help in curtailing some of this increase for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Would anyone else like to share? Anne Marie? Have you all, the rest of you, spoken? Go ahead, Anne Marie.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Mastracchio. I represent House District 142. I don't think I have any of the manufactured housing parks in my district, but this has been something that we've been working at the state level. And after being contacted by a number of people from Marshbrook Estates, I agreed to meet with them and see what we could do because we had passed some legislation. It's very difficult, especially when we're talking about rent control caps at the state level, to get 76 people in the House and 18 people in the Senate and get it signed, much less get it out of committee, because we had bills that did that. The bill that he referenced did that, but it did not come out of committee that way. And anybody that's worked in Augusta knows it's a slow process. So I encourage them to come before you because Old Orchard was able to pass that ordinance. It started with a citizen's petition. I thought that that would just put things back further, and that I suggested they come first to speak to you and just lay out the problem, because this council has been very good at trying to solve problems. These people are at the mercy of Phillips International. Once people realized they could make a lot of money in real estate, residential real estate, think about what we're talking about here. This is not commercial. They can say it's commercial. It is not commercial. This is residential real estate. We see it in Airbnbs. We see it in every aspect of what's happening in Maine. And it's happening all over the country. Once people think they can make money at something, these people do not live in our city and they do not live in our state. They're just raking in the money and taking it out and spending it elsewhere. I think we have a responsibility to address the issue in a way that doesn't harm the manufactured housing parks that we have that are still owned locally. People live in them, and they're trying to maintain that level of price, that $400. As anybody who owns an apartment building can tell you, that when somebody's charging $2,000 for an apartment over here and you're charging $1,200, people wonder what's wrong with your apartment. I mean, there's a certain amount of that the market is going to be the market. So I would imagine that for some of these other mobile park owners, they're having a difficult time because they aren't having, they're saying, well, why are you so cheap? The reason is because that's a reasonable amount to pay. The others have to pay investors. That's where that money is going, out of the state to investors. So I encourage you to hopefully get together a working group. You can move faster. I told them it's a lot easier to get 4 people to vote on this council than it is for me to get 76 in the House of Representatives and then go to another place. That's the way it works. So I would love to be involved to make sure that you're not superseding or trying to duplicate what we're doing at the state level. But I do think if enough communities do this work, the state will then listen. I hope that this problem will level off as we build more housing. But this particular manufactured housing parks are a very important part in the continuum of housing. It addresses the issue of people who want to move out of their big old houses like me into something that's more affordable that they can continue to live in until, hopefully, till they're, well, I don't want to talk about it, but till we're dead. I mean, you don't want to think about it, but it's like the last car you're going to buy, the last house you're going to buy. But for some of these people, they now feel that they're not going to be able to stay there. Yeah. So I hope that you will address it, and I feel confident that you will. And I wanted to thank the mayor for putting it on the agenda this evening so that they could have a full discussion.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Also, to make sure this isn't about us, Steve and I had a conversation earlier, and I think we could not even think of any more questions because I think you have done a fantastic job at educating us. Steve and I we actually did look at the Old Orchard thing. We looked at the state of Maine rules and ordinances that were already in place, or laws, whatever they're called. I never get that right. And close enough, statutes, yeah. And it annoyed me that one of them said about just giving a 90-day notice, and that was okay. What are you going to do after 90 days? You still can't sell your house. You know, you're still stuck with paying huge amounts for the land. So that actually annoyed me because I thought that's somebody that doesn't even know what they were voting on, if they thought that was okay. So after Steve listened to me gripe a lot, he had done a ton of research. And so, Steve, you and I just had a conversation earlier, and you came up with a fantastic idea. And could you address, one was what we can put into place and what the state is going to have in place? I think it's in January.
Yes. So pursuant to the research, the Old Orchard Beach, they've passed that ordinance. That was a referendum vote last November. That's active now. I just looked it up again this evening. It's in their book of ordinances. They may be voting recently on the fee. There's an administrative fee, so I'm not sure on that. So they're the first community in the state of Maine that we know of that has actually passed the ordinance. Brunswick is looking at a moratorium. I'm not aware if they've enacted that yet, but I know they're looking at that. Waterville, it was on the news
Just this morning, yeah.
Waterville did enact an ordinance. So I went specifically looking at Waterville as to why they chose the 6-month ordinance and what benefit that might have. So a gentleman referenced earlier, LD 1723, I know that passed, that's going in, but that relates the average amount of lot rent to CPIW, being 1% above. There's a notification, there's a mediation process and such under that. I would encourage you to look at LD 1765. That's going to, that also passed and was signed by the governor. The reason I ask you to take a look at that particular piece of legislation is that it instructs the Office of Innovation, the Governor's Office of Innovation, to write a model rent stabilization ordinance to be propagated throughout the state. So it would be very beneficial if you had input on that, if the governor is calling for that and such. I know as a manager, I would look towards that model ordinance that's being developed as a state model. I will say Old Orchard Beach, the Old Orchard Beach model is very comprehensive. I was very pleased to read through that. As referenced earlier, it's 22 pages long. There's a lot in there that goes to what the park owner's ability to make a profit and how you determine what that is, what's an extraordinary capital improvement and what process that they have to put that in there if it's over and above the percentage rate that's prescribed. So I did call our city's attorney because we share the same attorney with Old Orchard Beach. So I called to ask what he might have had for a hand in crafting the Old Orchard Beach model. He said that it was actually I'll call them the homeowners association. It was the people there in Old Orchard Beach. They paid for an attorney to draft that. That's how that came to be, but it's a very well-crafted ordinance. So from that, we know Brunswick is on the edge of passing a moratorium. Likely, Waterville has done that. And again, when I looked at Waterville's information, it was the I saw the linkage to that LD 1765, where the state is going to draft a model ordinance, right? So I think that gets them through March of next year. The model ordinance is supposed to be drafted by December of this year. So that gives a bit of time for that community to perhaps enact based on what the state model ordinance is, so.
And so I assume with all you're saying is that we need to look at something that'll be, hold us in place until that can get put into place. So what would that be called? Would that be a moratorium that we'd put into place?
That would be a moratorium.
Like for 6 months?
You could do an emergency moratorium absent a public hearing, right?
Yeah.
That would expire after 90 days. Then you would either have to vote to do something different than that prior to it expiring, or vote it in as a regular ordinance, which would go up to 6 months, 180 days.
And one of the other things I want to address is, I can't remember who mentioned it, but some people were fearful of signing the petition for fear their rents would go up. I think whatever we do, we need to quickly do it and to have it retroactive so that stuff can't be impacted. Like the owners of this can't say, okay, now we're going to hurry up and jump before they can put something into place. So whatever that is, we need to make sure something like that, and I know the hearts of you people, and I know you're probably thinking a pretty similar thing, that if we could do that, is, so how soon could we do something like that, Steve? Legally.
If you do it as an emergency ordinance, you could do it as early as your next council meeting, because that would not require a public hearing to do it as an emergency ordinance. Now, there has to be an emergency preamble. I could craft that with our legal counsel in there to ensure that it meets the letter of the law, that there actually is an established public emergency. I think the people speaking here tonight, that's relatively well established. And then you could act on it that evening.
Okay, all right.
Again, that's good for 90 days, right? Then you'd have to extend that to do a full active ordinance, which requires a public hearing and 2 reads. But the
Madam Mayor.
emergency can be done in 1 meeting.
Excellent.
Quick question. I got the impression that maybe your rents increase once a year with the new year. Is that what's happening?
No.
They already did it, okay. So yours was just your mother's situation, the sale, I guess, okay. Okay.
All right. So do we vote on that tonight about putting something like that into place, to have it on the agenda? Or I want to make sure that they know we heard.
Yes, if you want to give me that, if you want to give me by vote the direction to develop that emergency ordinance, that's what we would do for the next council meeting.
All right. I don't typically make a motion, but I am going to make that motion to authorize our business manager, Steve Buck, to get it together for something that we can vote on at the next meeting as a moratorium on this. Can we have a second? Bob?
Second.
And all those in favor? Oh, we can have discussion first. Sorry, I apologize. A discussion first. Ann?
So I guess my question relative to Maura's question is an emergency moratorium, which is a little bit more time-consuming and pressurized, really necessary at this point, being that rents.
Everybody just got their rent increase, and we're not going to
Yeah.
be able to make the rent increase, we're not going to be able to go backwards.
Like what I'd rather make it, invest in a well-crafted ordinance if there isn't a detrimental impact to not doing it as an emergency ordinance.
I mean, that's, I guess, is there a need to do the emergency moratorium, or can we do a regular moratorium process, given that they've already gotten their rent increases for the year? Although I know there is some sporadic.
Has everyone gotten, no. Anne Marie? Is it to that? Okay, come down so we could hear that, because I think there might be some, that's not, they're not all the same park. And
So what we found is when this group and other groups like them anticipate things, then they start doing other stuff, because there's nothing that says they can't raise the rent as much as they want.
Which was the
I
worry
think that there
had.
is some benefit to an emergency ordinance, because you're serious. They may actually take it seriously, and if they do some actions that are seen as negative towards their homeowners, you will know that. But I do think this is the time for an emergency ordinance, because what's happened with the bill that we passed that put the CPIW, all that stuff into place, is they did anticipate it because it didn't pass with a supermajority. It didn't pass, so it didn't go into effect until 90 days after, still not in effect, after we adjourned. So that's why this is all happening. If we had been able to put that law into effect immediately, we wouldn't be seeing this.
Correct.
So I'm saying that if you're going to do this, take the time to develop a good ordinance, but the emergency moratorium, just in the same way that we did when we did medical marijuana and recreational, like you did things where you waited and you said, okay, we're just not going to do anything on it first, we're going to do this and then we're going to work on it. It gives you the time to do it right, but it also gives them some relief. And I don't think it will impact the other manufactured housing parks that are not doing the same kinds of things.
And that's a
as
good
Phillips
point, Anne
International.
Marie, because we have some parks in Sanford that are run by very honest, reliable, loving people who are reasonable at what the rents are. And
I think this is a clear case of price gouging. They're not getting any more for those increases. They're getting less. So, I mean, it's really a question of fairness. And they're coming to you because what you don't want is empty mobile homes or empty manufactured housing in these parks that no one's going to buy, because that's an empty place where we have people that are looking for places to live. If the rents were reasonable, those places would be selling like that.
Yes, they would.
Because compared to a house, even in Sanford, which used to be affordable, it is not affordable. I'm hopeful that in the next couple of years, things will even out. Rents will come down, everything, the market will help. But once housing was seen as a place where investment groups could make money, it is not about, a house should be a place you live. It is probably the one thing that a lot of people can have as their wealth that they can use at some point. I feel like we have really, this happened very quickly. I think COVID, there are a lot of reasons why it happened. I think that it's just time to do something about it much more quickly than giving it the time. I know what it takes to write a good ordinance. I also know that in a couple of weeks, if you could have a meeting and you could do that, we'd be in a much better place. And as much as I would like to say that the state will take care of it, we're not in a place where we can get the kinds of cooperation among the bodies, because there are people who are very susceptible to groups like Phillips International coming in, and there's a reason why they're doing this all over. They can. They can.
Thank you, Anne Marie. All right. Anne?
So,
hold on one moment.
In follow-up, so that was very helpful, thank you. In follow-up, and Emery touched upon it, if we have other mobile home parks that, for example, do a CPIW-related or reasonable annual increase on October 1st, the moratorium would limit their ability to do that? Or can we craft it in such a way? So I forget how many we have in town, but if there are folks that typically, or even on January 1st, they have a normal typical increase to cover their rising costs, right? Would this moratorium, this is across every mobile home park, so it would limit all increases, or are we crafting it to be, do you know what
I know what you're talking about, yes. Yeah. So before that question, I was going to craft a moratorium that it just puts the brakes on any increase at all, period, right? Otherwise, you're getting into crafting what your rent stabilization, lot rent stabilization ordinance might look like, and you're putting those elements into the moratorium, pre-development. Do you see what I'm saying? So that it's hard. it's one way or the other in that situation.
They would have had to send notifications by now anyway. You have to give a minimum of, I know for apartments, it's
90
40.
days.
Well, for me, it was, what, 45 days? Did they increase mine as well?
Well,
But
the
anyway.
state thing said 90 days that I read.
Yeah, so they would have had to send them out already, I would think. So we could ask some park owners if they've received any, so, to find out.
Any other questions? Jonathan?
More just a comment, you know, anytime government gets involved, it kind of can sour the waters on you know, the free market. So I just want to make sure that we're being really careful about impacting the other parks that may need to increase, you know, some amount to take care of,
Jonathan, are you volunteering to be on the committee?
maybe, depending on what it is.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we're really careful about not impacting the people that do need to increase because of, you know, increasing costs of plowing and maintenance and other things.
I think Old Orchard had a good.
Could you wait to be called
They
on?
covered
I've
it,
got
yeah.
other people who have had their hands up.
Oh, I was just fixing my glasses, sorry.
Oh, okay. Don't do that again. You know, if you were at an auction, you could have bought a cow.
I'd be a little bit more careful at an auction. I won't use the paddle to.
All I is, I think, Jonathan, I think Old Orchard actually covered that a bit, because they do recognize that there are some good parks with long-term owners.
And the other thing is, if we put an emergency in place and we come up with a solution quickly, that we can put that into place and just vote on that. So, I mean, if we put something in place for 90 days or whatever the limit is that we do, we might be able to get it done faster because we have some examples already. We got a cheat sheet, yes. All right, are we ready now? Okay, I think because of what we're going to vote on, let me take a vote here, and then you can speak after. All right? Because we have a first and a second to have Steve develop this. All those in favor? Okay. So now you understand, we're going to develop a moratorium to put a halt on stuff at our next meeting. So, and we're challenging Steve to come up with a lawyer, a great wording. So, all right, come on down, and then you can come on down.
I promise not to use a stick on anybody.
Do you have another chart?
Huh?
You have another chart?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Just a couple of things. Our last rent increase just took effect this month. If nobody does anything, I fully expect Phillips International to raise our rent $75 a year from this month. I would just caution you about a moratorium that does nothing but indicate that you're doing something for us, but you're really not. Because you can put a moratorium on for 90 days, or 6 months, or 9 months, or a year, and it's not going to affect anything that Phillips International does to us. Because as soon as the moratorium's off, they're going to raise the rent.
Okay, do you understand that we're putting the moratorium in place in order to write, because it's an emergency one, so we can quickly
Absolutely.
do it?
Absolutely.
And then we can write a full one. So that's why we're
Absolutely.
doing the emergency
And
one.
if I can help in any way. And the other thing is,
Only if you bring charts.
notice that when that was owned by the private owners, the rent went up at a reasonable rate. And you could write into your, whatever you write, that a reasonable rate, you know, based on the cost of living, whatever you want to base it on. But people should be allowed to make a reasonable profit. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Arthur Duplessis. I'm from Country Living Mobile Home. I'm more or less here to say that the price increase of people aren't maintaining their trailers. I can name a couple right there that don't even have running water and they're living there. That and people got broken windows, they got plywood on it. It's just looking like a slum neighborhood, not keeping their lawns cut, you know, just stuff like that. They can't afford it. So I just wish that you guys would do something to keep the neighborhood clean and make it look better, other than being run down, because they can't afford it. That's all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we voted on that. I think we need to move on.
She actually had her hand up earlier.
Oh, she did?
And she
Okay.
was speaking.
All right. No,
So it might be nice to.
you can come on down.
Thank you.
Why didn't you trip some people who were walking by you and you could have come up?
My name is Doris Orlando. I live at the Country Living Park. I've been there since 2002. I paid $185 was my lot fee. The maintenance people have not done a lot since I've been there. My husband also has just passed away, and my rent also went up $75. Now, we have children in our park, very nice children. Not too many of them, but some of the trailers are really deteriorating. They, like the gentleman said, it looks like a slum in some of the areas. They don't clean up, they don't take care of their yards or anything. But I know a woman in there that's on housing, and her husband just passed away. And she told me the other day, she don't know how she's going to be able to stay there because they just raised her rent too, even though it's on housing. So we would appreciate whatever you can do. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. All right. So I hope that we've answered some of your questions. You've done a great job of answering ours. Are you raising your hand to wave to me? Or you?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I didn't know if you were like Nate and doing the glasses and, okay, so we're ready to move on. And we only have a couple of more things. We're now at council member comments. So any comments? Ann?
I just want to mention, because it was so quickly done through the consent agenda, that there is a really fun event coming to Sanford. It's kind of a redo an event that we've had a couple times, but Rotary is doing a new beer festival at Memorial Gym Saturday, November 8th. I think it's going to be a really good time. It's a fundraiser, and Rotary really works hard to put all of their fundraising monies back into our community. So I'm looking forward to it and hoping it's really well attended.
Thank you. Anyone else for a comment? Jonathan?
I'll just throw a comment in. We're seeing similar things in a lot of other housing markets. Like, I know prices are starting to come down, but there have been, corporate groups buying out large amounts of single-family housing, for example, and apartments and things like that. So that sort of thing is not just limited to the mobile home parks, but I do see that as kind of predatory rate increases, just because you guys are kind of stuck there. You may have some legal options to move the house, but it doesn't sound like it's feasible in a lot of cases. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to future agenda items. Pete?
I think we need to discuss the needle program.
Yeah, you're on for the next one. We're going to put that on then. Anything else? Nate?
Just to make it more official, we were talking about before, just to maybe get a price quote on a porta potty for voting. I know we don't have to do it, but it might be worth looking to see if that's something that we want to expend some funds on.
Okay. And maybe some feedback that we could get from the superintendent too, of what could possibly be done. I know right by the theater, there are those bathrooms right there. And so I don't know if there's a possibility, I don't know where all
I think
their
you'd have to make sure that students don't use them in order to, you'd have to make sure they're part of the area that students are not allowed in order to make it safe.
And maybe there's a way. All right. Yeah, probably. Ann?
This is maybe crazy, but I'm just wondering if there are communities that have passed ordinances that don't allow sleeping in their parks. Like adult sleeping. Is that something you can prohibit via ordinance?
sleeping in the parks.
I know, and
I
maybe
think,
it's a
Ann,
discussion.
that might be something we need to look up.
At proper, maybe something for property sub just to discuss, or public safety.
I mean, what I just said to her is, what's the difference between that and sunbathing? I mean, if I want to go out and lay on the grass in Independence Park here and maybe fall asleep and take a nap, but I'm not doing anything, it's just I'm enjoying being outside, what's the difference between that and?
I'd be willing to prohibit sunbathing too, Bob, if I have to. No, I don't want to see you in store, store or park sunbathing.
You won't, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, going back to equal access and things like, I agree with what's being said here. I'm not in favor of these people making a nuisance out of themselves in our parks, but yeah, it's,
that might be,
it's the limitations of the law
that
that
might
we're
be,
dealing with
you
here.
can tell somebody who's just sleeping, who's sunbathing, and somebody who is sleeping to really sleep, yeah. You have to have Copatone with you, or you're not, you're really sleeping. I mean, there might be a way, we don't know, so.
No, so I say this with all, that's the least of our issues, really, right? So the recidivism part, when it comes to the local ordinances, the court systems are not our friend. They, as far as getting that enforced, it doesn't get into the habitual offender piece or anything else by them, violating the local ordinance over and over and over, because it's not one of the crimes that they'll sweep into the definition of habitual offender. So, so far on the camping aspect, you can recognize the camping. When they're in multiple blankets and all their worldly possessions there, and they're eating and they're camping out there. Or when one example was there for 2 weeks without moving, the person's camping. They're not, right? They're not enjoying the park per se. They're camped there. That became their spot. So, yeah, it's kind of the lesser of our issues right now. Yeah.
It was a good thought. Didn't work, but it was a good thought.
I mean, unfortunately, if I was walking by, pick on Independence Park again, it's down in the neighborhood where I live, along by the pond there. If I was going to go into that park, I mean, with my grandchild, and I saw anybody just lying prone in the middle of that park right now, I mean, I wouldn't make any determination of, I just wouldn't go. I just turn around and go back. I just wouldn't go in the park. So, it's an issue, but I don't know how you, I mean, I'm not going to walk over and take a look at him, oh, that's a normal person.
Make sure he's breathing.
Or that's if there's somebody there, I'm just not going to go in there, and I think that's unfortunate.
I want that guy's pointer, because then we could. Nate, or was it Ann?
Or, well, may I just finish this conversation? Oh, you need to not.
You stop waving at me.
Part of my question, Steve, or my thinking about that is that extreme, move, is that if we make it more and more uncomfortable for people, which I recognize is a lot of work on our police department, but, and I don't even know if it's feasible, or if our chief would be like, this is crazy, but if we made it so uncomfortable for people to just congregate in our parks and our trails, would they move on somewhere else at this point? Do you know what I mean? That's what and I guess I've reached maximum saturation, as I know community members have and other counselors have, but can we make it more uncomfortable to just be in Sanford?
They will move from location A to location B, and you'll be repeating, and they'll go back to location A, and the next time they'll go to location D. It's just pushing it around in a circle.
I wish there's somehow we could get the public to understand when they are panhandling, asking for money on our corners, they're not spending that money on food. So stop giving them money. And the other thing is, when we feed them all the time, why would they ever, they've given money for drugs, they're being fed all the time, what is the need to change? And I know it sounds cruel, well, we've got to feed them. Well, maybe if it got bad enough, they'd go, okay, now I'm ready to change. But the inner being in us is so loving that it's very hard for us to do that. And sometimes tough love is what they need. But I don't think it'll happen. Bob?
Yeah, it's called enabling. If you've ever been involved with any alcoholism, they call it enabling, and that's, to some extent, what this community is doing, is they're enabling it to happen by providing money and food and sleeping bags and tents and all those other things. As was said, what's their incentive not to, they're living for free, basically, and in their minds, maybe living pretty well, I don't know. But where's the incentive in that? And I do think if we stopped enabling, with respect to the mayor, I've been saying that for a couple of years. Many people don't agree with me. I've taken a lot of crap for it, but I think that's fundamental to getting people into housing and getting them into treatment. And so, anyways, yeah, I'm with the mayor. Please stop.
Yeah. All right. It's been a long night, very emotional night, hearing all that the people had to say. At least I found that very emotional, hearing their stories. So I'm going to actually, at 8:37,